Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all doing good. Today, I will be reading to you a few poems. Um, they will be read in such an order that it makes up a story, and I hope you will enjoy it. You know, what else? Well, I will start now. Actually, so the story begins with a man who has extreme paranoia due to his past. And this is a description of him. It's called The Paranoid. It's a original poem. There is a man, always on the lookout, always waiting for something to happen, fearing sleep and every kind of backlash. Sorry, I will restart this poem. There is a man, always on the lookout, always waiting for something to happen, fearing sleep and every kind of blackout, expecting any kind of mishappen. That man listens to all conversation, but never shares to anyone his thoughts. He'd rather be in total isolation. If not, he looks for signs prior to onslaught. Never to freeze, ready for fight or flight, preferably to fight on his own terms. He's got either too much or no foresight, even ready to clean himself of germs. He doesn't look at his past or future, set for anything. He has no more pride. His flesh and mind are covered with suture. He constantly waits for what would ignite anything in his close environment. Hopeless, he looks only to the present, which is the source of his torment, like an endless head-swallowing tail serpent. Fearless, he has only apprehension for any type of following actions. His constant prevention leads to tensions. He feels like there is no comprehension. His options always feel like they are bad. For that, he covers himself in steel clad. So the second poem I'll be reading is a poem about the same character, um, and basically he meets this woman that, despite his traumas and inner torture, stays with him, and this poem is about this. I've got a girlfriend. She keeps coming back. She thinks she can mend my injured soul back with my ragged body. All is cloudy. I push her away. She smiles, then she cries, back and forth my way. No guides in the skies could help me better than she ever did. I write her letters, and for my credit, they make her tear up. So I try again. So I try again to be a grown up. I take a quill pen and write a poem as a love's token. So after this, the story goes on, and basically, the main character has a hard time adapting to uh, basically a normal life. And this poem is called Nothing Matters. It doesn't matter what's done, nor where I am. I'll never be able to see myself the way others truly believe I am. There's no sense of preservation or self when I try to understand who I am. Just a strange feeling that I'm not myself. I would break around me every mirror as to never look at my eyes again. I would go from angriness to stupor because the sight of my soul is such pain. I doubt so much what others see in me that I can't even express my feelings. Oh, my only desire is to flee so far that I would forget everything, forget my past, my future, and myself, just to be in the present by myself. The next poem is about him barely believing his situation with that woman that he loves. Fair poetess, you made me fall in love with you in ways that no other life would. You came as the last light into my grove, piercing through the branches of the dark wood that surrounds the last vestige of my life, last remain of hidden secret gardens forgotten after too many strives. There you gave one last light to my organs. There you turned a hard rock into a heart that cannot live away from you apart. However, as sun rises and sun sets, your mere presence is the light of my day. Our voice together becomes a duet, while your light dims and I try to delay the last spark of my light from vanishing into the deep dark void. Eternal night, I do not want it to be happening. You are my lasting light, making life bright. When the sun sets, I tremble at the void. In the void alone, darkness invades all. Obscurantism cannot be avoided, as I die again at every nightfall. So, the next poem is about um, this man reminiscing the past and starting to be haunted by where he comes from. I was a young man when I first saw my blood. I drank a beer can inside a phone booth. I got drunk alone and dreamed of dinner. Screaming at the phone, faking a brother, I stood in that room that stank like piss room, hoping for a call, still bruised from a brawl. 'Twas below zero, had nowhere to go, asleep and standing, poor but pretending that I was richer than rats in gutter. I could only see how poor were the poor. Nobody was free, and I felt so sore my blood was bitter. Alone and broken, I wrote my poems on the 4 mirrors. Now the phone booth is gone, and the poems are gone, and the beers are gone, but I settled on. Do not forget me. This is a poem about him trying to make the main character trying to make the relationship last because he's afraid that it will stop. Just give me 1 second, guys. Be right there. Okay, here we go. So, do not forget me. I wish I could catch the moon right now or this afternoon. Bring it to you with showers of the prettiest flowers. I wish I could bring you wealth, including my perfect health. Lay it gently at your feet. If I could lay my warm heart at your feet and give you earth as an eternal playground, so you'd feel love all around. If only the strength of love could stop time, and as a dove you would fly in sign of peace, then all that's wrongful would cease. You, you are my universe. I would write a million verses to prove you my full devotion and show you our love motions. Be like a lost planet without sun to rise or set, and my world would be gloomy if you were not here for me. Please find the strength to let our love unfold to its full length. So, the next poem I'll be reading to you guys. The story goes on. Um, well, of course, this is like an attempt at making a story. I'm not yet done with it. This, trial, but a fire happens, and suddenly everything changes. As the main character already had to deal with trauma, he suddenly has to deal now with a worse event. Opening Hell's Gate. No, screams the tormented, while seeing Hell's Gate. It appears as though he is in the void, and Hell's gate is red from heat radiated. No, no, he begs while hearing decoyed sounds like the screaming of all his past life that's suddenly about to be destroyed. He thinks one last time of his child and wife prior letting hell's finger be deployed. Once the gate is opened, it can't be closed. Behind it, hell on earth has come to be. In an instant, to heat he is exposed. No, no, he exclaims in a string of plea. He's blinded by smoke's explosion, then can see fire rise beyond the smoke. Time takes its time. It goes in slow motion. Lack of air and extreme heat makes him choke. Run! Run away! Fire! Fire! Go! He cries while he himself refuses to go. Suddenly, the roll of flames seems to flow all around him, while the smoke seems to glow and the demons are released from hell's gate. Everything burns away before his eyes. In hell, he is about to suffocate. By hellfire, he sees it all carbonize. He falls on his knees and screams, "No, no, no!" Following this, his hair is caught on fire. It don't matter. He hears from down below electric wire backlash into barbed wire. The fire comes from the roof and from the floor and from that gate, which really was a door. Everything burns, even the clothes he wore. As he dies, it don't matter anymore. Okay, the next poem I read is The Hopes of the Unsatisfied. The better days were yesterday. Time unravels as stories play, yet remembrance long called away never belong and never stay. Those better time may never last. Further in the past, they always cast memories away in a blast, making me want to run so fast no one could ever make me stop. Through and around, I always hop up and down toward furthest top. So high, there's nothing left but to drop. Okay. The next poem I'll be reading is called I Dance. Hey, Griswold, which am I? Riddle with demons. Which am I? I'm glad to see you there. How are you doing, man? Probably the riddle. So I'm trying to tell a small story about this man who has a hard time adapting to a normal life. The first part was about him meeting this woman, and then there was a fire. This poem is called I Dance. Wait, first I'm gonna concentrate on opening my bottle, otherwise it's gonna be a problem. 'Cause I really, really don't want to drink nasty stuff. There we go. That made some noise. So, I dance. At night, I dance with the shadows. The song in my mind humming lows follows my steps in afterglows. In the eye of the tornado, I'm swirling high above the ground. All is blurred into vertigo. I forget everything I know while listening to silent sounds. I forget everything I know. I remember days long ago when we danced beneath that willow and we kissed under mistletoe. I lost my heart in that meadow. I dance alone with my shadow. The lights dim and there's no sound. My despair does not let me go. As I dance, I remain hollow. My distress reigns on my gallows as all is buried by sorrow. Oh, if only I could let go, forget each one of my wounds. But I, lost by curses, spellbound my shadow and self long ago. Light surrounds me, the fire grows and burns and twirls in tempo. My ghost left their burial ground. Now they free and we waltz around. We spin as ourselves we confound, and soon I forget all I've known. The darkness is cold to the skin. In my mind, to the void akin, my inner walls are closing in. Soon my shadow is breaking in. My phantom guides me by the hand from here to past long forgotten. I'm with her, dancing on the sand beneath golden clouds of cotton. Then I dance with my shadow till we are both one with the dark. As this present, that's just a spark, I vanish within the void's flow. So Grimswald says, and now there's the wine. Of course there is the wine. Who could live without wine? It's actually a pretty good wine. It's a Malbec from Mendoza in Argentina, 2018. Pretty decent. So, the next poem I'll read is so after losing his girlfriend and his home, the man relies to his friend, and little by little, thing turns sour. Those are poems written about that. I am in the eye of the beholder. I look at others, and I feel my loss. Sometimes someone will know what I go through. Most times, most will do the sign of the cross. Nothing makes sense, and no one has a clue how anyone feels about anything. I'm not a bad omen or some bad sign. As my reason and moral are sleeping, my resentment I try to undermine. I gain strength through other folks' compassion, and I lose all confidence when ostracized. I can feel the pitiful derision of it all. Nothing is rationalized. So, the main character losing his wife, losing little by little his friends, and realizing that he depends on them for confidence or for lack of moral, finds himself in the thick of hell. And this is a poem about the aftermath. It's called Me Out Loud. The cycle of life turns always around. One day brings joy that we can't recognize. The following night is a total breakdown. It's so bad it could not be surmised. I get asked the question of how was it? And I got nothing to say about it. How could I ever share an experience to anyone who is inexperienced? How the fuck could I even try to share something that no one could even imagine? If they can't understand, could they please spare me those questions that are so maddening? What was friendship turns into annoyance. One day's lover, at night be ostracized. None, not even I, has the clairvoyance to see my present depersonalize me from the individual I was. It feels like social exile is my law. I know, just like everyone, I have flaws, but somehow I feel I became outlawed. So, in the meanwhile, after having lost his home and the love of his life, and realizing how things turned to sour, he writes a letter to her, but it's it's a letter that will never be sent. So he basically writes it, and that's it. And it's called "The Letter Never Sent." Don't lose your peace of mind, for what was left behind was to be forgotten. And if none too often you spend nights pondering, is he still wandering lone in the depth of night? Then you'd know you were right. Don't lose your time or days wondering what could have been. We won't see eye to eye. Another holds your chin and spins your heart and love, and if sometime you think of a present wherein you and I would still be, Know that soon you'll be free. Okay. So, as the main character descends into this state of abandonment, um, he starts to have panic attack and basically having flashbacks of all the things that have happened to him. And as well, he loses his love and his friends among the way. This poem is about that panic attack. I'm having a deadly panic attack. Through my chest, my heart is about to crash. My broken bones tremble, making strange cracks. Nightmarish memories through darkness slash. My heart pounds and pounds, each beating faster than the one before, each beat more painful. Soon, I'm not anymore my own master, and all I'm capable of is dreadful. Drops from this fever feel like frozen shards. The palms, the palms of my hand are wet yet so cold. My shaken hands couldn't hold the bad card dealt by this destiny of growing old. A cold fever shakes down my broken spine. My angel wings are falling to the front as my back's crushed under hell's army's line. Instead of screams, all I've got left are grunts. My muscles are taken by painful spasm, then are frozen into paralysis. I crumble under my hard, constant rams. What's left for me here fuels this crisis. My breath is uncontrolled and there's no air. I gasp in tears, reminded of the fumes. I sob at what I have become. I stare at past, present, and future and see gloom. Before me, my reality burns down. Soon, all I can perceive is fire and smoke. I can see beyond blood being blown as if it was toxic smog meant to choke. Indeed, Grimswald. Indeed, this is the story of somebody that falls into insanity and then raises up by the end, of course. By the end. So, at this point, the main character has lost his house, his wife, his social status among his friends, and he falls into um, alcoholism due to old PTSD from his past life before he met the woman, and well, just being in a bad place. And this poem is called Memories of an Infirm. The taste of barf still in his mouth, eyes sore, reddening by his tears. For help, he cannot even shout. In the dark, he keeps hearing cheers as if he's just a scapegoat for all his brothers and sisters. His throat tightens by a cutthroat from whom he can still hear whispers of echoing and hateful words compelling him to abandon life like it's a looped old record. The taste of barf in his throat strangles him through his anxiety. He shook, strangled by a gravity, then fell through his chest cavities. He was back there, last one, dying, surrounded by crying ghosts. A man his age and him fighting. He stabs him, killing him almost, fighting on his brother corpse, the fumes smelling like rotten flesh, and 1,000 exploding sparks turning bodies in gory wretch. He watches him lose his life, screaming, flaunting at him with tears and blood from his dead eyes and twisted mouth down his face towards his streaming. He is a mirror of himself, and he sees himself die, screaming, killing him, and he kills himself, both forever, losing breathing. My brother, my foes, all them ghosts and the fire. He starts coughing. He wakes up again, vomiting, with none left to call, and lost. He could kill for some fresh water, but he can't even get up from this dirty toilet corner. If he cries, he knows he'll blow up. He lays waiting in the peace room, praying for nobody to come, like a dead man lays in a tomb. He can't recall where he's from, even when he's where he came from. In the end, he's just an infirm. So, obviously, this is the main character waking up and going into the alcoholism. And now he faces depression, obviously, because with alcoholism comes depression. And yeah, basically, this is about his depression and his fall from grace. This poem is called Hell's Present. Oh, Hell's Present. I am nothing, and there is nothing left. Past is soon begun, does not persist through time. Days forgotten are just like knowledge theft, except for the fact that they aren't crimes. If the future hasn't come to be yet, then really it might never come to be. Days to come never might have they offset, nor all hopes become actuality. Thus, the future isn't reality. Hopes are merely thoughts that may or may not come to be. But there aren't any guarantees that we will achieve whatever we sought. All that matters is that dreadful present. constantly actual and solely real. Our existence was never really meant to pre-exist or persist through time's wheel. We are but dreamers living a nightmare that we, poor soul, have conceived for self. For more time we beg and do few prayers, while we're but pages in a bookstore shelf. So, little by little, this depression and alcoholism, loss of home, loss of wife, leads him to homelessness. And the next poem is about this actually, reaching homelessness and dealing with it. This poem is called A Bench. He died every morning and survived the long nights, his arms reaching, holding around a bench. There were fights, sleepers and rioters froze, and he shivered from cold. Eyes shut while rioters rose. The coppers came to hold rioters and chase the sleepers. Some ran, but I did not. I saw my friend, dealer. They took him for mugshots. They took the riot apart. They got everyone out, even the Purple Hearts. There was just no hideout. Coppers shoved them away. Away they crawled and walked. There was no hopes display. There were no words to talk. The next day, the sleepers were the only creepers. The coppers took the bench, and I left heart-wrenched. Thank you, Grim. That's really cool, actually. So there he that poem was basically about him trying to find a place to sleep, but between the riots and the fights and the cops, he basically can't even find a bench. The next poem is still about the main character, and he's walking in the winter cold by himself, depressed, and he sees on the other side of the street far away two other homeless people. And this is about them. This is about what he sees. It's called A Lighter for a Pair of Gloves. There he was, in the dark, hidden in a corner from one of those loan sharks. All he had was a lighter. There she was, in the cold, without a place to go, by winds frozen and scalded. All around there was snow. As they saw each other, they knew 'twas their last night. They died in the gutter, kissed and killed by snow bite. She had gloves, he had fire. His fingers were frozen, so he couldn't fire the lighter. It wasn't broken. His thumbs were frostbitten. Giving her mittens, she lit up the lighter. They were just survivors. But for one silent night in that dirty junkyard, saw hope or candlelight. They held each other hard. It was not love, but life, and they both feared that knife that the other might have. With suspicion, they'd laugh. She lit up a dumpster, and they looked at each other through the flames and the snow. With suspicion, they'd laugh. Time seemed to go so slow. There they were, in the cold, with no words to withhold or none to even share. They held each other's stare, and 'twas cold snow kisses that took their last wishes, leaving them bleak and frost. They froze to death that night, and remaining both lost, none laid eyes to the sight of their corpse again. Nobody was humane anymore. None were there. As they dead, they shared. So by that time, the main character is understanding that he cannot spend the nights in the street, and that he's basically gonna die if he does that, because he lost it all: home, friends, love. And what he witnesses in the street is fighting, cops beating civilians that are already super weak, um, couples that are not couples dying in some junkyard. And so, after many of those nights, he decides to go back home, which really isn't his home anymore because it was burned, but he goes back in the relic of his old home. And this poem is about this. A vagrant went alone in his old house, vacant of furniture, ghosting in out of his reality. He sees his spouse walking up the stairs, out of sight, blown out. He trembles. He knows that he should walk out. He doesn't. Instead, he follows her steps. This dark derelict is his last hideout. Behind him, he recognizes her footstep. He doesn't turn around knowing she's gone. A car drives through the street and he jumps down. He knows he should crawl away from this place, but there are memories that he must face. He walks up the stairs and hears ghastly cries. Flames burns the wall all around, and he shakes. For an instant, he sees her face, her eyes. He feels that his mind is about to break. He stands up, legs shaking, his mind trembling. Under the weight of these visions crumbling, a vagrant in his mind that's resembling a home that is abandoned. He's stumbling between memory and reality. He reaches for the doorknob and turns it. Beyond it hides his own mortality, his failure and remorse, also defeat. He stands where time converges all in one. Everyone is both present and absent. He stands still, holds his breathing, and feels stunned. In this dead place, he can still smell her scent. He crawls on a corner where he can lay, sleeps in the place he's the most afraid. He'd cry, but doesn't know how to display his tears. Instead, alone, he begs and prays. So the main character spends a night in his home, in his old home, and then gain some peace out of it, some acceptance to what has happened. And this poem is actually about his understanding of it. So Grimm says, the ashes of his home in my head. Yes, that's very much it. You know, burned out home with just a few walls and a few things that he can go from reality to, you know, memory. This poem is about, it's called After All's Gone. After all's gone, all that's left is knowledge. Even even as my throat is under that sight, and I feel my breathing sliced by its edge, I see what splits the past from sentences light. The runes fall into deafening crashes, and the smoldering leftovers are gone. Soon, even the rebels become ashes. All is gone, and what's left has crashed down. Still, the memory of it all is fresh. Where now there is nothing left, I can see thousands dead, standing alive in the flesh, calling for their home or their ruined city. Memory may fail, but knowledge keeps on. Perhaps one day all will be forgotten. Ignorance under some veil may creep on, and our secret gardens soon be rotten. However, as long as there will be skills, mentors, and students to teach or learn, and for education, a feeling of thrill, even when there's nothing, hope returns. So Yeah, this poem was about getting a piece from the reality by just going back to the place where it all started. The next poem I'll read is To Live, and it's a poem about to live at all cost. And that's what the main character gets into. He understands that um, after living something traumatic, getting engaged, married, losing his home, coming out of it, ending up homeless, going back to the house that burned to see where it all began for him, the downfall. He understands that whatever happens, there is only one way to go, which is forward and to live whatever happens. So, this poem is called To Live. To be alive and to live, just to live. To live for everyone and everything and be there for them. To live, to give. To live for our parents and our offspring. To live, to do well for the afterlife, and every day do God's worshipping. To live so everyone around can thrive, and with love soon have an engagement ring. To live for discovery on itself, for reason or none, and to be amazed at each breakthrough achieved from a bookshelf. To live, to uncover all in one gaze. To live, to feel the warmth of being loved. To live, because to die would be useless, even if life is as useless thereof. To live, especially as it is senseless. To live for pleasure, whatever that is. To live for hope by despair or revenge, like I do a self analysis. To survive at all cost, dug in a trench. To live, to survive until all is gone. To look in the past, present, or future, and to live for it all, until all's done, till all my wounds, one by one, are sutured. To live at any and all price or cost. To live whatever one has to do. To survive through the Holocaust. To survive through worst time till a breakthrough. So those are the main poems I want to put in my book. There are a few other poems that I'm thinking to add because I'm trying to make this story that goes from point A to point B. If you guys would like, I could keep on reading them. What do you guys think? Would you like that, Grim? Well, let's try this one. Feeling and emotions. Fears constantly in the back of my mind. Oh, sounds good. It was nice to have you around, Grim. Have a good evening or a good day. Feeling and emotions. Fears constantly in the back of my mind, like vulture diving down their dead prey. They turn around my reason just to find if my beaten reason is in decay. I wish I had the will to ignore it, yet it's the only feeling I have left. I have emotions, but somehow they split. They definition victim of a theft in such way that I still feel love for kin, but that I feel like I'm a diminished version of me. Yet I have never sinned, at least not enough to be so punished. That insidious feeling turns me ashamed, ashamed of being victim of events beyond myself that even took my name, hellish events that I could not prevent. Soon, all I feel is basic emotions. There is no future or past or present. Finding affection, sharing devotion is my only relief from my torment. As if affection was as basic as fear and the only cure from feeling wretched. It's not anyone, it's the atmosphere. It leaves me numb as my mind is shredded. Next poem is called Endure. There's only so much one can endure. One can only suffer so many wrongs. There are limits to feeling insecure. One can only be in this state for so long. Yet there's no end to the depth of the void. There are always worst events that could happen. Everyone seems to be so overjoyed. I could be laughing it off and clapping if I wasn't myself, but someone else. I would even laugh at my reduction. I only wish I could be someone else, so I would take everything with derision. What is normal? Whomever teaches us to be normal, when among all we are one of a kind, and we are to believe we are immortal, in such way that our own life, in such way that to our own life would be blinded. What be left if all was taken away? All that made us whom we are in our own eyes. It's like living an unending doomsday and enduring it through stress, tears, and cries. It's like that, except for the loneliness. No one can ever understand our truth, as for them it is part of emptiness. Just to be confessed in a church booth, then we are asked to mimic other people, because the more people act as just one, the more of us be normal and equal. Through this, no one will ever be someone. And that will be it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I wish you all a good evening, good morning, good night, whatever time it is over there. And thank you for watching this. Don't hesitate to join Discord, Facebook, YouTube, etc., etc. We have many other poets that deserve your attention too. Karen Nodrick is exceptionally good. I will leave her um, linked on there. Um, and you will get a chance to meet the others in Discord if you do join. I wish you all a good night. Bye bye.